what steps a person needs to take in order to train themselves?
Okay. Once again, we go back to why, not how. So when we're at school, it's very easy. You have a teacher, you have assignments, you have to do certain things and you get marks. If you get the privilege of going to college or university, once again, there is a set of rules, what you have to do. When you're self-employed, this is where the challenge is. There is nobody there. There is nobody there telling you to wake up at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock. There's no dates. There's none of that. So this is where 90% of businesses unfortunately fail in the first 5 years. So 90% of entrepreneurs after 5 years are no longer there. Out of those 10% that are left, about 5% are doing well and 5% aren't. They're still struggling. So one of the things that you've got to find in yourself is the reasons, the motivation, the fuel, your goals, how you're going to feel when you achieve that goal. That's going to push you every day. So that will make you learn, that will make you pick up a book or listen to a tape or listen to that extra. It's like in Olympics, like with sports people, yes, it's brilliant in one sense because they have an end date. It could be the Commonwealth Games, it could be the Olympic Games, it could be the World Championship. So they have a date, they have to get to that certain physique or certain training and they've got everything written down. When you're in business, it's not. It's all yours. It's basically you have to make those goals like the Olympic medals. You know, that's your date that you're going to have this done by, and you have to have that fuel over a period of 10 years. Been building an amusement park, which we're currently in, and so the one thing that was driving me was very, very simple. It was so simple. However, that gave me enough strength with all the challenges you have of building something in another country. Yes, I was born here, very proud to be here. But all the challenges you have from being 20,000 kilometres away to constantly be feeding and trying to make enough money to build the park while you have all the challenges and all the other businesses that you're doing in bits and pieces. So you have to find that one gold medal. And it was actually a 4-year-old boy who, when he walked outside and saw the park for the first time in his life, he just went, yes! And that's what I waited for 10 years. So you have to find things like that in your life that go, okay, that's my thank you. Right? The little boy didn't know, parents didn't know, okay? Luckily, I get to relive that feeling over and over again when the kids come to the park and they just open the door and they just go, oh my God, and they just start running, and yes, a lot of them fall flat on their face. The sad part about the park is that, one of the things that I love hearing is the sound of children laughing. The thing that I hate is the sound of children crying. And I didn't expect how many children would cry when they're leaving the park wanting to stay here all night. But they do come back. So in a sense, what you have to find is lots of those to keep you driven. So you've got to find your gold medals. You've got to find the thing that's going to, inside you, make it all worthwhile. It's great people saying, you've done a wonderful job, or this or that, the other, or the charity work that we're doing and all that. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. One of the things for the charity work was, I remember being 11 or 12 and not understanding drugs or anything like that. I was going to school once and there was a guy probably in his 20s sitting there as a beggar, and he asked for 20 cents, which wasn't a lot of money. I didn't have it, but in his eyes he was so desperate, but I couldn't help. And so that's enough for me to do what I do, So you don't need, I do admire people who start a charity because a family member has passed away or something like that. And yes, but in a lot of these cases, it doesn't continue on for years and years and years. It's only, you know, while they're grieving or things like that. So I try and use things that are going to stay with me for the rest of my life to keep pushing, you know. So I try and find the little 4-year-old boy, or I find the beggar. So you've got to find those things that will constantly keep wanting you to go to the next Olympics and the next Olympics, and that's what makes you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's what makes you sort of say, okay, I need to do these 1,000 little things in a row, and not make the excuses of going, oh, well, you know, I had to go to a friend's birthday party. You can go to a friend's birthday party for 2 hours instead of 8 hours. You can still do a lot of these things, but it's what's going to drive you to get to the gold medal. The gold medalist is very easy because he knows he has to do 6 hours training 6 days a week. He knows he has to do training of his mind, you know. He's got to believe in himself. We don't have any of that in business. We basically have whatever you've determined to do is what's got to keep you driving and keep you learning and keep you understanding. And then when you fail, you know, you've got to get up, brush yourself, and the quicker you get back on the saddle, you know, that's where a lot of people, when they do attempt a business and they fail, it's like a cat that jumped on a hot stove. Right? It's never going to jump on a cold stove, and it's going to take years and years and years of convincing that cat or that person that, yeah, you know, you failed. I had a great example 24 years ago or 23 years ago when the World Wide Web started. I basically built this myself and a few people here in Serbia built this enormous 2,000-page website. It was never, you know, never before. The biggest website, I think, was 50 pages by Ford. We built this monstrous thing, you know, and it was working, and the whole thing was functional and bits and pieces. What I didn't anticipate was we needed millions and millions of dollars for marketing, you know. And then, you know, later on, I think a few years later, one of the people in there sort of said, oh, we failed at, you know, sign it. And I said, well, what do you mean we failed at sign it? You know, did we create a website, you know, that was 2,000 pages? Was it working? Could it do hundreds of websites per minute, every minute, 24 hours a day? Could it do this, that, and the other? He said, yeah. So we failed on 1% of it. Just the fact that we didn't have, you know, a few $1 million. The other 99%, you know, we succeeded. So even in your failures, you look at what you did correctly and what was the drive of that. So once again, it was a learning. So whether you succeed, whether you fail, it's all learning. But you need to find your Olympic gold medals and your dates and what's going to drive you.
So at the moment we are in Bora Labyrinth, the biggest maze in Europe. It belongs to you.
Yeah.
It works really well and it's the biggest in Europe. People love it in Serbia here. And you know, it's growing really, really big. People from all over the world are coming here. Did you see it coming when you decided to start building it? Like
okay,
at that moment?
So one of the things that you have to do in life, in when you set goals, I've actually got a photo of before we started. It was a sunflower paddock. It was a sunflower field, and in front was a couple of old tyres and some old car parts and bits and pieces. It took me maybe 30 seconds in my mind to see exactly what this would look like, and then that's what you have to become pig-headed. You have to become so pig-headed about, in your head, seeing that 4-year-old boy being happy. You have to see the families that come in here and have the time of their life. You have to see happiness. All those things will give you enough strength to continue when you've got certain challenges of building and certain challenges with all sorts of, you know, things that will happen when you're actually building such a big venture. And the fact that, you know, what your, not necessarily spare income, but what your income is and how much work you're putting in to send, you know, funds here. You have to be determined all the time, because it's quite easy just to put your hands up and go, oh, listen, it's too hard, screw it up, you know. But you have to see that 4-year-old boy. You always have to see that.